What if the one thing you have been hiding your entire life, the thing you are most ashamed of, the wound you cover every single morning before you walk out the door, what if that exact thing is the very thing that could connect you to every human being in this room right now? What if your greatest weakness is not your liability, but your most powerful gift? We have been taught that strength means having no cracks. But what if I told you that the cracks are not where you break, they are where the light gets in? Today, I want to talk about something that terrifies most of us. Not failure, something deeper, something we have confused, misunderstood, and weaponized against ourselves for years. It is called vulnerability. And no, it is not what you think it is. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear might change the way you see yourself forever. What if the most courageous thing you could ever do in your life is not climb a mountain, not build an empire, not survive a storm, but simply say, I am struggling and I need you to the right person in the right moment with your whole heart fully present? We live in a world obsessed with authenticity. Everyone is talking about it.
Social media platforms are flooded with confessions, breakdowns, revelations, and raw emotional moments packaged into 90-second videos.
And somewhere along the way, we confuse vulnerability with oversharing. We confused courage with chaos. We confused openness with emotional flooding. And that confusion, that dangerous, subtle, deeply human confusion, is costing us our most meaningful relationships. Let me be very clear about something that took years of research, thousands of interviews, and countless sleepless nights to understand fully. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is the most accurate measurement of courage that exists on this planet. It is the willingness to show up and be seen when you have absolutely no control over the outcome. It is stepping into the arena knowing you might get knocked down, knowing you might fail, knowing people might laugh, and choosing to walk forward anyway, with your heart open and your armor off. But here is where people get lost. Here is the part that most conversations skip entirely. Vulnerability is not the same as oversharing. Oversharing is when you tell your deepest trauma to someone you met 20 minutes ago. Oversharing is when you flood your social media followers with your most private pain because the silence at home has become unbearable. Oversharing is when you use emotional disclosure not as a bridge to connection, but as a floodgate you open to release pressure without any regard for who is standing in the water below. That is not vulnerability. That is emotional vomiting. And I say that not with judgment. I say that with enormous compassion because most of us have done it. Most of us have mistaken the relief of confession for the depth of connection. Real vulnerability, the kind that changes lives, the kind that builds marriages and friendships and teams that move mountains, that kind of vulnerability requires something first. It requires trust. And trust, my friends, is not given in a single moment. Trust is earned slowly, carefully, over time, like a jar being filled one marble at a time. Think about someone in your life you truly trust. Think about how long it took to build that. Think about the small moments, the kept secrets, the consistency, the times they showed up when they did not have to. Trust was not declared in a single conversation. It was built in 1,000 tiny moments of reliability. Vulnerability without trust is not bravery, it is recklessness. And we need to stop rewarding recklessness as if it were courage. Now let me tell you something that will completely reframe the way you think about yourself. Every single human being on this planet has a core question they are quietly asking every single day, beneath every interaction, beneath every relationship, beneath every professional decision they make. That question is, am I enough? Am I worthy of belonging here in this room, in this relationship, in this life? And the tragedy, the absolute heartbreaking tragedy, is that most of us spend our entire lives trying to answer that question by performing, by achieving, by accumulating, by making ourselves look so put together on the outside that no one ever gets close enough to see that on the inside we are terrified. We numb vulnerability. We drink it away. We work it away. We scroll it away. We buy things we do not need. We stay busy so we never have to sit still long enough to feel it. And here is what the research shows. You cannot selectively numb emotion. When you numb the pain, you also numb the joy. When you numb the fear, you also numb the love. You cannot pick and choose which feelings to shut down. Numbing is a package deal. And so we walk around successful on the surface, hollow underneath, wondering why our relationships feel shallow, why our achievements feel empty, why we can be surrounded by people and still feel profoundly, devastatingly alone. The answer is not more sharing. The answer is braver sharing, wiser sharing, more intentional sharing with people who have earned the right to hear your story. Here's what I want you to truly understand about authenticity, because we have made this word almost meaningless with overuse. Authenticity is not a personality trait. It is not something you either have or you do not. Authenticity is a practice. It is a daily, moment-by-moment choice to let go of who you think you are supposed to be and embrace who you actually are. That choice is terrifying every single time because who we actually are includes the messy parts, the broken parts, the parts we never plan to show anyone. But here is the extraordinary thing that happens when you make that choice, the right choice with the right person at the right time. Connection happens. Not the shallow, performative connection of 100 likes on a post. Real connection. The kind where someone looks at you, at the real you, the scared you, the imperfect you, and says, "Me too, I thought I was the only one." That moment, that exact moment, that is why we are here. That is what all the pain is for. That is what all the searching leads to. Two human beings dropping their armor for just a moment and recognizing each other. But you cannot get there by oversharing. You cannot get there by emotional performance. You cannot get there by making yourself so visible that your rawness becomes your brand. You get there by being selective with your vulnerability, by choosing people who have demonstrated through their actions, not their words, that they can hold your story with care, by understanding that not everyone deserves access to your deepest truth, and that protecting your story from the wrong people is not the same as hiding. It is wisdom. Let me talk about shame for a moment, because you cannot talk about vulnerability without talking about shame. They are the same conversation. Shame is the intensely painful feeling that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Not that we did something bad, that we are bad. And shame thrives in three conditions: secrecy, silence, and judgment. The moment you shine a light on shame, the moment you say, "This happened to me and I survived it," to someone capable of responding with empathy, shame loses its grip. It cannot survive being spoken. It cannot survive being witnessed with compassion. But here is the critical piece. Empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is standing at the top of the hole someone fell into and saying, "Oh wow, that looks really bad down there. Can I get you anything?" Empathy is climbing down into the hole and saying, "I know what it is like down here, and you are not alone." When you share your vulnerability with someone who responds with empathy, not pity, not advice, not dismissal, something extraordinary happens. The shame dissolves, not completely, not instantly, but it begins to lose its power, because shame cannot survive in the presence of genuine human connection. This is why the practice of vulnerability matters, not the performance of it, the practice of it, in safe spaces, with trusted people, with clarity about your own worthiness. And worthiness, this is perhaps the most important piece of everything I am sharing with you today. You cannot practice true vulnerability if you do not believe you are worthy of love and belonging, full stop. If you go into a vulnerable moment believing that you have to earn acceptance, believing that the outcome of this conversation determines whether you are lovable, you will either overshare in desperation or shut down entirely in fear. Wholehearted living, the kind of life worth having, begins with the foundational belief that you are enough. Right now, as you are, with everything you have survived, and everything you have not yet figured out. That does not mean complacency. It does not mean you stop growing or striving or becoming. It means you do those things from a place of sufficiency rather than scarcity. You reach for more because life is rich and full, not because you are desperately trying to fill a void that you are convinced can never be filled. Let me close this thought with something that I believe with every fiber of my being. The people who live the fullest lives, the most connected, most creative, most courageous lives, are not the people who never got knocked down. They are the people who got knocked down, who sat in the discomfort, who allowed themselves to be seen in their struggle, and who chose against every instinct of self-protection to get back up and try again.
They are the people who learned the difference between a safe person and an unsafe one, and who gave their vulnerability only to those who had earned it. They are the people who stopped performing strength and started practicing courage, who stopped flooding everyone with their pain and started sharing their truth with the few who could truly hold it. They are the people who understood deeply, fully, completely that vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. Vulnerability is strength. And the next time you feel that tightness in your chest, that terrifying urge to either hide everything or say everything, I want you to pause. I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Who has earned the right to hear this? Is this sharing or is this flooding? Am I doing this to connect or to release?
Those 3 questions might save a relationship. They might save you from a moment of regret. And more importantly, they might guide you toward the one conversation, the right conversation with the right person that changes everything. Because that is what vulnerability, done right, has the power to do. It does not just change conversations, it changes lives. We began with a question, what if the thing you have been hiding is actually the thing that connects you to everyone? And now, having walked through everything together, I hope the answer feels different than it did when we started. Vulnerability is not a confession booth. It is not a social media post. It is not telling everyone everything because the pain of silence has become unbearable. Vulnerability is a carefully chosen, deeply courageous act of showing your true self, not to the world, but to the people in your world who have proven they can handle it with grace. Oversharing protects you from real intimacy. True vulnerability invites it. Oversharing is armor wearing a costume. True vulnerability is armor being laid down thoughtfully, selectively, bravely. You are not too much, you are not broken, you are not unworthy of the connection you are longing for. You are simply human, and being human means carrying beautiful, complicated, sometimes painful truths. Truths that deserve to be shared, but only with those who have earned the honor of hearing them. Choose your people carefully. Trust the process of building trust. Believe, even when it is hardest, that you are enough. And then, when the moment is right, with the right person in the right space, let yourself be seen. That is vulnerability, that is courage. That is where everything meaningful in this life begins.